Hey there, it's a Thirsty Thursday here on The Sweat, and if you are salivating for knowledge, you've come to the right place. Adam Kaufman, Reid Fowler, he'll just generously laugh at my terrible jokes. He's not normally actually up here, typically in the analyst chair, so I'm going to do my best to stop him from stepping all over our guests.
I know I'm standing too often, so I'm sure I'll be the one coming in to talk over people.
Yeah,
right? That's it's definitely
sounds
your
just
MO
like
here.
you.
But anyway, let's bring in DK Live's Gary Thorne, RotoWire's Alex Barutha, and Karn Phillips from the New York Daily News. Guys, it's time for NBA Pick and Roll.
All right, let's dive in. Kawhi Leonard out. Kyle Lowry is available tonight after last night's game in Boston. That means the Raptors' Pascal Siakam and Serge Ibaka, they're going to have plenty of opportunities to step up. Siakam $7K, Ibaka $500 cheaper against the Suns. So which one do you like more, Karn?
I'm going with Siakam just because I just don't trust in Serge Ibaka the same way I don't trust this new lineup. I don't like change, guys. What's going on here? What are we doing? I know it's Thursday. I know it's almost the end of the week and the weekend's getting close. But can somebody send me a note next time so be better prepared for this?
Is he talking about me? I think he's talking about me.
Listen, you know, we're really look. I know he's taller than Tyler, who's usually here, but I promise he'll do okay. Gary, and what do you think? Who do you like here?
Yeah, well, the Lowry variable really kind of changes my answer here. I was all set to say Pascal Siakam because he was someone who could create his own shot for this team, which in a unit without Lowry, without Kawhi Leonard, would be a big facet. And Ibaka has also struggled significantly when he doesn't have Kyle Lowry on the floor to spoon feed him baskets. He's only averaging 0.98 points per possession when Lowry's off compared to 1.24 points per possession when he's on. So considering his usage rate when Kawhi's not playing, if Lowry's going to be active, I think I have to go with Serge Ibaka here.
Oh, Kawhi just was fire last night, too, with the Garden. What do you think here, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, my initial answer was Serge Ibaka when I thought that Lowry was out because Ibaka averaged 45 DraftKings points per 36 minutes with Lowry and Leonard off compared to Siakam's 37.4. But now I'm not so sure anymore. I mean, Siakam's definitely the safer pick, but at the same time, like Gary alluded to, having a great point guard available to help get Ibaka buckets is great. It's a tough choice. I might just opt for the cheaper option, which is Ibaka.
Alex, we'll send you some new stuff, but that dorm room's really coming along great.
He was waiting. He was waiting for that.
Just chomping at the bit with a big fat head on the wall behind him.
Next question. Victor Oladipo's only hit 30 DK points once in his last 5 games. He's 7,600 tonight against the Sixers. Jimmy Butler is almost a grand less, and he's been putting up better numbers. Easy choice here, Garion?
I'll say this. It's easy if Embiid's not playing, which I'm pretty sure we don't have definitive word on yet, although I didn't know about the Lowry thing, so who knows? I'm just really dumb. So
when news breaks, Gary, and we've got it.
Okay. So if Embiid's not playing, Butler's the easy call here. I will say for Oladipo, though, we look at his numbers recently. They've not been great. I understand that. He's also only had to play 4 fourth-quarter minutes in their last 3 games. They've just all been blowouts. I don't particularly like either of these two if Embiid is active, so I'm going to lean Butler here, but I'm not blown away by either guy.
Alex, I really wish I was a Ben Wallace fathead, but what do you think?
Well, actually, yeah, it's for my boss's office. He's letting me use it while the media room, someone's doing a podcast. Nice. So, yeah. But I think I would rather go Butler here. To me, it feels like a clear choice. The Pacers role players have been stepping up big time. The Pacers, just in general, are playing really well compared to the 76ers, whose best role player is JJ Redick, and that's by a mile. So they're really top heavy. And like we mentioned, if Embiid's out, then Butler just seems all the more obvious.
Is your boss the general manager of the Pistons? Because otherwise I'm having trouble figuring this out.
No, he just really loves Detroit sports. I'm not entirely sure why.
Super
honestly.
fan.
Karn, what do you think?
I don't like either of these decisions either, but if I'm going to pick one, give me Jimmy, just because we all know that I'm a Jimmy Butler guy. And while we're on the subject of this fan room, being the Michigan native on this panel, Tell your boss that if he's a real Pistons fan, he would have had a Benny Johnson fat head back there.
There you go. Turn
That's
it
going
back.
deep in the archives. I like it.
All right, guys. Kemba Walker, one of the most expensive point guards at $8,700 versus the Kings. There's De'Aaron Fox, $8,100. So $600 savings if you didn't feel like doing the math. Is that enough for you to choose Fox, Alex?
Yeah, it is. Kemba Walker's been slumping a little bit. He's scored fewer than 30 DraftKings points in 4 of the past 7. It feels hard to trust him right now. And on the flip side, Fox has scored over 30 DraftKings points in each of the past 5 games. So honestly, I feel like these prices should be flipped around. So for me, I would definitely go Fox.
Well, Karin, you got a difference of about 5 DK points average, but Fox at 37. You feel good about him?
I do. I'm a big fan of De'Aaron Fox, but that doesn't mean I'm spending my money on him tonight. I'm still going to go with Kemba Walker. He's been slumping a little bit, but we're talking about with the second best point guard in the East behind Kyrie Irving. And with that, anytime they do that lineup with Tony Parker that puts him off the ball, his scoring goes up a little bit, even though we want some assist numbers for these purposes. But just tonight, I'm just going to roll with cardiac Kemba.
Gary, you get to be the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I'm going to side with Alex here. Kemba is so scoring dependent. And now, this is a guy who can definitely score. That's the facet of his game that you would want to be dependent on. But he's only actually at 5x value once in his past 8 games. And it took him a whole lot of points to get to that mark. He's only averaging 3.7 assists in the month of January. So the secondary stats aren't really accumulating like you would want for someone who's around 9K. I know you're paying more than usual for De'Aaron Fox, but really the only positive thing I could say about Kemba Walker is he gets to play in an up-tempo matchup against the Kings. So does De'Aaron Fox. He's the reason they're up-tempo. So I'm just going to go with the guy who's got a better assist rate, the guy who's 10th right now in NBA steal rate. That's a nice little way to add some tertiary numbers, too.
Yeah, really good pickup there for the Kings. Fox playing really well. One more, Devin Booker wasn't all that impressive in his return from back injury Tuesday. Just under 20 DK points. He's 7,800 in the Suns Raptors game north of the border. Booker's teammate, DeAndre Ayton, is 6,600. Who you rather roster, Karin?
I would rather roster Devin Booker. Now, DeAndre Ayton is the better deal to me, and if I was picking this with my head, I would definitely go with Ayton because he's going to save me some money. But given that Kawhi's not playing tonight, and he would be the guy that's going to, cover Devin Booker, and I know he's coming off some little back injuries, I'm still going with D-Book here.
Garen, you feel the same way?
No, I think Karin was right when he said Ayton is just the better value. That's what keeps kind of coming back to me. I think both these guys are in decent spots, but you look at the way the Raptors have struggled to rebound lately. They've given up the second most rebounds to opponents across the last 5 games. Only the Knicks are worse, and they don't even really count because they're not really an NBA team. We deported them. So the Raptors are technically the worst among teams still in North America. I just think Ayton's in an opportunity here. The Raptors just don't have anyone to throw at him without Valanciunas. Greg Monroe is going to have to go up against DeAndre Ayton. Ayton should eat tonight.
Alex, feel the same way?
I do. And I'm generally conservative when it comes to playing guys who are coming back from these extended injuries, especially back injuries. Those can be kind of persistent and tricky to deal with. So I think Ayton's the better play. He's gone for at least 35 DraftKings points in 3 of the past 5, which includes 45 DraftKings points against the Nuggets, who are a great team. So I think he's the way to roll.
Raps are one of the top teams in the NBA, Gary, and there's no need to deport them. Besides, if it didn't work with Justin Bieber, it's not going to work now.
Well, they're already kind of deported, aren't they? They're here. They're not there, so...
I'm with you, Gary.
But a Canadian invented basketball, so it kind of evils.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
You can all send thank you notes to me at Gary and Thorne, CC Canada.
All right, guys, thank you very much. We'll join you again later in the show. We've got some football on the way and some betting talk to discuss. First, some Nick Foles news to see if there's a team out there that likes some magic.
It's time for your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. I'm Taryn Azak. The Jacksonville Jaguars look to rebound from a tough season and plan to return to the playoffs with their talented roster, and attaining a quarterback like Nick Foles could be their golden ticket. The Jags' new offensive coach, John DeFilippo, was the Eagles' quarterbacks coach during the Super Bowl run, and we all know how that worked out, with Foles leading them to a championship and a Super Bowl MVP trophy. With that recent success, it all lines up for the Jags to be a main contender for the QB services, with Blake Bortles clearly on the outs. There is still a chance Foles returns to Philadelphia, but if he doesn't, the Eagles would ideally like him to leave the conference so they don't have to match up with him. The QB landing in Jacksonville would be perfect since they won't see the Jags in a regular season setting until 2022, leaving the only opportunity to see him in the Super Bowl.
We are back with Johnny Avello, director of the DraftKings Sportsbook. Johnny, you're on with Adam and Reid. We're taking a look at the action in Vegas ahead of the conference championship games on Sunday in the NFL. How are you?
I'm doing excellent, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, well, it's going to be great to talk to you here. We're going to learn a lot along the way. There's been some up and down movement in that Pats-Chiefs line. What's caused the changes? Is it as simple as the weather? Because there haven't been any key injuries.
Well, the game opened at 3, and it's still sitting at 3. The totals would drop quite a bit from 58.5 down to 56. And, of course, the possible inclement weather would hold the scoring down. And that's usually a time to look at the underdog. So that's when there's a little bit of play on the initial money on the Pats.
Yeah, a lot of movement there. Chiefs are favored by 3 at home. Where's the money coming in right now on this one?
The initial money's on the Pats, and the reasons are, you look back at this team, since Brady's been taking snaps for the Patriots, 17, 18 years, the team's been in 12 AFC championships, which includes the last 7 in a row. So that's certainly a past performance that'll get your attention.
Yeah, playing that underdog card, right? Like no one believes in us.
Yeah, nobody thinks they can win. I don't know if you've heard that, Johnny. The real underdogs for the first time in like 70 games. Saints are projected by 3.5 points opposite the Rams. So how about the money on this one? Where's that coming in?
Opened up 3.5. It's currently at 3.5. But there's an early push that's been on the Rams. These teams actually met twice last season, and we all know about the 45-35 win at New Orleans on November 4th. But everyone forgets that the Saints also beat the Rams in the final preseason game 28-0. Now, of course, preseason doesn't mean much, but I believe the Rams, have retained that thought in the back of their minds that we've lost twice to this team this year.
Yeah, so which game is getting more action? Is it the NFC Champ or the AFC Championship?
It's pretty close, a bit of a touch high on the Rams-Saints game. It's the first game, and maybe the bettors are just really excited and they want to get the action now.
You expect these lines or the spreads to change anymore before kickoff? What are you watching for?
Well, it'll take quite a bit of money to get off at a 3 for 2 reasons. Number one, that's a very key number. Number 2, this is a huge game, both games with huge volume. The game, Chiefs-Pats, I could see that game maybe ending up around 3.5. Couple of reasons: Arrowhead Stadium, an imposing crowd. Some feel that the Pats, as you just said earlier, aren't the same team, but you couldn't tell it from last week. On the Rams-Saints side, I could see that game settle in that maybe Saints 3, and the teams are so evenly matched in the home field may be the only advantage that the Saints have here.
Well, and I was just going to go there. Is that basically what it comes down to for both these games? 2 evenly matched teams on either side, both conferences? Because you look at the 3, Vegas is going to give you 3 just for being the home team. So effectively, both these games are pick-ems, huh?
When you're making lines on these games, you go back to your power ratings, and your power ratings tell you where the line should start. But when I look at both teams, there's a different variable with the Chiefs game. The Chiefs I don't know if these teams are equal. I think the Chiefs are a better team. It's just that the Pats are a team that we know arises to the occasion. Whereas in the Saints-Rams game, I do see the personnel on both sides on an equal playing field.
That's very interesting. Prop bets are always fun. So what are some of the most popular ones that you're seeing?
Well, they like to bet the prop bets, and they like to take the alternative point spread. So they'll take this game and they'll bet the Rams minus 3.5 and get plus money. Because no one likes to put up less to get, put up more to get less. They like to put up less to get more. And that's how you do it on the alternative point spreads. Or you could take the Chiefs minus 10.5 and get like 2.5 to 1. So they're the most popular, and they usually are this time of the year.
What's the type of prop bet that you really like? What's the one that you think is just the most fun when it comes to games like this?
I like to, I always like to stay in the game. So I like to bet things where a player needs to get so many yards, so many catches. And that way, when you bet over, you're in the game the entire time. So I think they're more exciting for the better. Betting under sometimes, if you're betting under 3.5 catches and the guy's got 3 in the first quarter, it's not a good feeling.
Yeah, lose interest pretty quick.
2-1s, national anthem, coin flip.
Yeah.
Those are my, I'm done. Like, the game
you don't even care about the game. You're just out after that.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, guys, if I sing that national anthem, you can bet on over 4.5 minutes.
There you go.
I'd like to hear that sometime. I'd have you sing us off, but I won't put you on the spot. Johnny Avello, director of the DK Sportsbook. Johnny, thanks so much for hopping on with us.
Yeah, some more hoops. So, appreciate it. Some more hoops news on the way. 5 games tonight after the pucks.
Brendan Glasheen here with your first look at tonight's NBA slate presented by Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner. 2 of boxing's biggest stars in one explosive fight. Saturday, January 19th, live on pay-per-view. DK Live's Greg Ehrenberg is here to help you with the 5-game slate in the association. Greg, just 3 players over 10K, Russell Westbrook, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid. Which high-priced star are you breaking the bank for?
Yeah, well, it's none of the guys that you listed, but I like Paul George a lot today. A couple of reasons for this. Number one, it's a really good matchup for him against the Lakers. They're allowing the 7th most DK fantasy points to small forwards. And the other thing also is we have a lot of value on this slate, but none of it's at the small forward position. We have point guards that are good values. We have good shooting guards, good power forwards, good centers, but none at small forward. So I think it really makes sense to spend up for Paul George in a plus matchup.
All right, you mentioned value. Where and who are you looking at to save some cash on the slate?
Yeah, the punch bob bully Bobby Portis. He's had a reputation for punching teammates like Nikola Mirotic last year, and that opened up playing time for him. And ever since then, we've kind of seen a trend where, for whatever reason, guys in front of Bobby Portis on the depth chart just tend to get injured. And we saw that yesterday with Wendell Carter Jr. hurt with a thumb injury. We don't know how long he's going to be out for, but it's going to have to be Bobby Portis taking over a lot of those minutes. He's a really good fantasy producer per minute, and whenever he gets those playing time, we tend to see him have big games.
All right, and tonight for this 5-game slate, your slate-approved pick, please.
Yeah, I'm looking at Fred VanVleet. We have Kyle Lowry's out for rest. We have Kawhi Leonard is out for rest. So it's going to be VanVleet starting at point guard for the Raptors. We've seen him in this role before. He averages just under 30 DK fantasy points and a really strong matchup against a poor defensive team in the Phoenix Suns.
All right, Greg, thank you very much. Once again, Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner is this Saturday, January 19th, live on pay-per-view.
Brendan, great job as always. Good to see you, too. We're going to get to some hockey coming up in just a second here. Chris Wassel's going to join us from awesemo.com. Fitting, because an awesome guy.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, going back to that, Johnny, that spot, I really like those prop bets. And I don't know if you remember this. The Broncos-Seahawks game, there was a prop bet that the first score would have been a safety. And if you remember that game where that hype went over
the weather was terrible.
Weather was terrible. That was probably, that paid out quite a bit. So those prop bets in the beginning of the game, you always want to see if you can get some of those. I mean, it's fun.
Well, they're fun, but for me personally, we'll get to hockey here. I like to wait until, I mean, look, I want you to bet and have your fun in the conference championship games. I like to wait till the Super Bowl, though, because then you get all those extra fun celebrity-related prop bets, too. But whatever, we got plenty of time to talk about that. Let's bring in Chris Wassel again from awesemo.com. Chris, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, guys. Nice calm before the storm here in Jersey.
Yeah, there you go. Chris, is NHL splurge or save? Now, the question, of course, is do you want the very expensive guy and pay up, or do you want the cheaper play here? So starting off with Bruins star Patrice Bergeron is $7,600 at center, and he's facing the Blues, but you could take Ryan O'Reilly in that same game at $6K. He has at least a point in 7 of his last 9 games. So you want to splurge for Bergie or save on Riley? What do you think?
Well, considering Boston almost burned me to a crisp last night, I was fortunate enough to not have Boston everywhere, and thank God I didn't. I'm actually going to go Ryan O'Reilly for the cheaper price here tonight, simply because St. Louis is a completely different team on the road. Their goaltending is better. Their offense is a little bit better. I mean, look, this is a team that gives up almost a goal and a third less than Jake Allen starts on the road and scores almost 3/4 of a goal more on the road than at home. It's a bizarre stat. It's had a half season to percolate, but so far it has panned out. And with O'Reilly being on a little bit of a bender, I'm willing to go a little less here, save my $1,500 to $1,600, and spend it elsewhere.
All right, let's take you in a different direction then. Patrick Kane, most expensive wing, $8,100 versus the Blue Shirts. But if you need to go cheaper, you could take Mitch Marner, save $1,000. He's scored in 3 straight. So who do you like here?
I still like Patrick Kane. This is the type of game that suits Patrick Kane well. Neither team has much of a clue defensively. If anybody didn't burn the videotape from the Devils Blackhawks game the other night, the 8-5 13-goal extravaganza that I argue could have been about 11-10, given the fact that Chicago hit 2 posts and 2 crossbars, and the Devils hit 2 posts and a crossbar themselves. You should be able to expect more of the same tonight. A lot of shots on goal. The Rangers are missing several players, including Kevin Hayes and Neil Pionk as well. Henrik Lundqvist tends to give up a few more shots a game at home, about 33 to 34 shots per 60. And Kane is on some kind of roll. I mean, including the 4 points he had the other night. We're talking a guy that's averaging 1.35 points per game and not showing any signs of slowing that at all right now.
Very nice. How about Victor Hedman, one of the priciest blue liners at $6K against the Maple Leafs, or you could save with Matthias Ekholm, $5,300 opposite the Jets. Are you going to splurge or save on D? What do you think?
This is where I always save. I have maintained from the beginning of the season that Matthias Ekholm was one of my fantasy breakouts of the season. Now, technically, he didn't break out, quote unquote, because he's the type of player who has 35 to 40 point potential. Until about the last 10 to 15 games, guys, where he's averaging more than 3/4 of a point a game. He's upped his blocks by about half a block a game, and he's upped his shots by almost a full shot a game. That's a lot of numbers right there. It adds up to him being the best defensive option for Nashville. That means above guys like Roman Josi and PK Subban. That's some pretty company from a team that is stockpiled on defense. And against Winnipeg tonight, look, Winnipeg's a team that will give up some goals. We've seen that before. They give up a lot of shots too. You have to look at Ekholm, save the money, and run.
It's a man who likes to passionately save on D.
Yes.
I like it. Let's look at the last line of defense, the goaltenders, okay? Back to the Bees. Tuukka Rask, he's 5-0-1, sub-2 goals against average, and a save percentage better than .940 his last 6 starts. He's on a roll. He's going to face the Blues, 8,200, and if that is too much for you, there's always Colin Delia, 7,500. He's got a weak Rangers offense on the other side. So who would you rather play?
Oh boy, I can hear Boston hating me for this. Just this segment of the trade Tuukka section of the fan base. But
Ooh. I don't know, with the way Halak's playing.
Hey, Halak has started to struggle a little bit lately. Yeah. That's the funny part in all this. It seems like neither goalie plays well at the same time. One struggles, one does well. And in this case, yeah, again, Halak is averaging over 3 goals a game over his last 6 starts. And there's Tuukka Rask allowing less than 2. Why am I not surprised? Rask on the back end of a back-to-back actually is not a half bad play tonight, simply because he's a little bit cheaper due to that fact, because DraftKings has been pricing. And for 2, Connor Delia, look, the risk in Delia is this. He will give up a lot of shots. His rebound control is below average. He, once upon a time, about a month ago, was an AHL goaltender. Goaltender like him often gives up lots of shots, at least 5 to 6 rebounds a game. And that's a ton. I mean, these are close-in rebounds. These aren't those ones that bounce out to the corner. These are ones that bounce out right to a goal scorer. And that's a dangerous mix. So Rask is a slightly safer bet tonight. I will offer this as another safe pick, though, for you guys. Robin, whoever starts against New Jersey tonight is in for a pretty good night.
There we go. 2 for the price of 1 there. I like it. We talked about a lot of guys on the ice tonight.
You didn't have to pay extra for that.
You did not.
Freebie.
Who is your lock for tonight? Slate approved pick.
Slate proof pick. You know what? I could go my alternating of Gaudreau, Kucherov, but I'm going to go with something different tonight.
Okay.
I'm going with Austin Matthews tonight.
All right.
We're going Matthews for this reason. Toronto has been horrendous the past few games, particularly the game against Colorado, where they just looked in a fog. This is a statement game for Toronto tonight. I would like to think that they are going to come and show up Tampa's going to get their goals. Toronto is going to get theirs. I just think that Matthews winds up with a few more shots than Kucherov, and that may be enough of a difference.
Perfect. Chris, thank you very much. Always a pleasure. You know, I tell you, Thirsty Thursday here in the Sweat, my man came in loose, ready to play.
He did.
All right, we're going to get back to the hardwood momentarily after a quick football chat I had with Adam Levitan. I talked to him earlier today, and now you get to enjoy it, which is just tremendous for all of us. Just 3 games left in the NFL season, 2 on Sunday. Rams at the Saints, Patriots in Kansas City, 4 top offenses in the league, so we expect ton of points. Adam Kaufman with Adam Levitan. This is Levitan's Leverage, and we got a few plays that Levy loves this weekend, so let's start in the early game, Levy. Alvin Kamara, 6,500 at home, faced the Rams back in November, had 3 touchdowns, 116 total yards, or if you'd prefer, 34 fantasy points. 4th most on the year for him, also cost 8,700 back then, so this is a significant decrease now. What's a worthwhile return for the Saints running back?
Yeah, and I think the key here is that the way to get a worthwhile return is by having increased usage over Mark Ingram, and that's what we saw last week when the chips are down. In the playoffs, we saw the snap share increase between Kamara and Mark Ingram, so we get a spot against this Rams defense, which really allows opponents to run the ball if they wish and really does not try to stop them too hard until they get into the red zone. And then we also have Kamara's pass game role, and you add that all up at 6,500. It's just such a cheap price for the red zone role, for the pass game usage, and for the way we project him to play ahead of Mark Ingram in this game. So big time projection on Alvin Kamara.
Other side of the ball, a guy that's even cheaper than that, Robert Woods. He was good for double-digit DK points in all but 2 games for L.A., including 13 in New Orleans in that last meeting. So the receiver, he's 5,700. Saints stink against the pass. Is this a no-brainer?
Yeah, and I think one of the keys when you play the Saints from a matchup perspective is you want to avoid Marshawn Lattimore and you want to avoid Eli Apple on the perimeter if you can. The way to beat them in the pass game is through the slot, and where P.J. Williams just continues to get burned up weekly. So that's where Robert Woods has played at a lot since Cooper Kupp went down. He's also seen a higher red zone share. He's seen a higher target share overall since Cooper Kupp went down. And yeah, Robert Woods has not had a lot of huge games, but he's almost a lock for 13 to 15 points every week. And if this game turns into a shootout, it'll almost certainly be a lot through Woods.
Last one, from the dome to the cold. Sammy Watkins, 4K for KC. He's dealing with a foot injury, but he played 93% of the snaps in the divisional round, posted 11 points, so seemingly he's okay. Watkins didn't do anything when the Pats and Chiefs met in Week 6. Why now for you?
Yeah, and I thought he looked pretty healthy last week, and I thought it was telling they let him play on almost every snap of that game, gave him almost 20% of the targets. I think one way New England's defense can choose to play this game is just to sell out to stop Travis Kelce and sell out to stop Tyreek Hill. And I think maybe Bill Belichick would play it that way, especially considering what Tyreek Hill has been able to do to them in the last couple of meetings. If that's the case, we know Sammy Watkins has the talent to beat single coverage. I think there's a good chance that what we'll see. And really, it's about the price. I mean, 4K for a player of Sammy Watkins' ability, playing as much as he can in an offense we expect to possibly lead the slate in touchdowns scored. It's just makes a lot of sense for Sammy Watkins.
Real quick, Levy, I'll put you on the spot. Which of these 4 teams are headed to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, both the home teams. I mean, I'm just such a sucker for home field advantage, particularly in the playoffs, so I'm going to go with both home teams.
All right. I personally hope you're wrong. That's Levitan's Leverage. Thanks a lot, bud.
All right, good luck.
Thank you, gentlemen. Always a good chat with Levy. Always shares his knowledge.
And wish for the love of God he'd put that car together.
No way, man. That is a staple. We'll get into NFL.
Kid can't even celebrate Christmas.
We'll get into NFL again in a little bit. But first, let's welcome back our NBA panel to talk some hoops. DK Lives, Gary and Thorne, RotoWire's Alex Barutha, and from the New York Daily News, Karin Phillips.
Yeah, don't screw that up. Guys, we're doing NBA over-under here. We need your advice. If you see these games going over or under their projected totals, can't imagine you need me to explain that to you, but just in case. All right, first game comes from the highest over-under taking place in Charlotte. They're going to host the Kings. Garion, do you see this game going over or under 230 points?
I'm going to take the under. I've been riding a lot of Kings unders lately, and they tend to be coming through, actually. I think they're a very public over team. I think if you ask people one thing about the Kings after De'Aaron Fox, it would be, oh, they run at a really high pace. And that's true, but their defense has actually been really, really good across their last 5 games, only allowing slightly more than 100 points per 100 possessions in that span. And they've played some pretty bad offenses, granted, but one of those bad offenses was Charlotte, and that game went under. So I'm going to stick with the under here.
Karin, how about you? Over or under?
I'm going over, and I know these teams just played a couple games ago where they only combined for 201 points. But I did a little bit of research, and Sacramento hasn't scored less than 100 in their last 17 games, which kind of blew my mind a little bit. But coming off a night last night where I saw a professional basketball team shoot 73-pointers, the entire NBA is drunk. So since we're all drunk, I'm going over.
The Houston Rockets actively want me to hate the NBA. I swear to God they do.
Right.
We could do that another time. All right, what do you think there, Pistons superfan?
Well, I think, like we mentioned, these teams played on Saturday. The total was 201, which makes me trend towards the under. At the same time, both teams shot 41%, which is pretty bad. So I think there's some thought that is going to rise. At the same time, I want to take the under because both of these teams, they just, like the Kings have been underwhelming lately on, I guess, or they're kind of a 500 team, I should say. And the Hornets haven't been doing very well. Kemba Walker's been slumping. So I think the Hornets scoring won't be as high as we think.
Yep, next one up are the Nuggets coming off that tough loss to the Warriors the other night. Will now host the Bulls tonight. So do you see this game going over or under 213.5, Alex? What do you think?
So these teams play on Halloween. They combined for only 196 before the overtime, which seems strange. And I'm not sure I believe it. So the Bulls' lowest game total over the past 6 games has been 207. And the Nuggets have scored or allowed 100 points in 8 of the past 10. So both of those facts, to me, outweigh their previous matchup. So I'm going to take the over here.
Karin, you think that's scary or not?
No, I'm going over too. Not only are there not a lot of defensive stoppers on either one of these teams, but one of these teams has a guy on their roster who literally said nobody plays defense in the NBA, which he was kind of right about. So I'm definitely going over.
Garion?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with these guys. I mean, the one bit of hesitation I would have is this game's in Denver. It's against a terrible Bulls team. There's a chance that we just get a blowout. No teams are playing serious basketball in the fourth. But surprisingly, the last 11 times the Nuggets have played a home game against a sub-400 winning percentage team, they've gone over in 10 of those games. I mean, the Bulls are actually playing a little bit quicker than they did in the initial Jim Boylan era, which was like Stone Age basketball. And they're also allowing 120 points per 100 possessions across their last 5 games. The Nuggets are going to score 130.
Ooh, I like that.
Something to keep an eye on if you're thinking prop bets, right? All right, let's go to Karin. You first here on this one. 76ers put up 149 points all by themselves 2 nights ago. That's just stupid. They're going to face the Pacers tonight in Indy. So do you think this game goes over or under 225?
Yes, because we're all still drunk
there
in
you
the
go.
NBA. And if a team can score 149, what's stopping them and another team from going for 225? Because like I said, I don't know what's going on anymore. I'm just like, this is like flag football or something. I don't know. Foosball. Like, it's just buckets galore, and I'm a buckets galore guy.
You remember MTV Rock and Jock?
Oh, yes.
Something, like, is this the big 3 with a 4-pointer? Like, what? This is like arch rivals Nintendo video games. I don't know what's going on anymore, guys.
I'm telling you, man, this is the, like, 30-foot rim, 25-point shots that Dean Cain and Bill Bellamy used to drill.
Yeah, like, where's Jaleel White at when you need him? Like,
right?
Yeah, like, bring back the whole MTV Rock and Jock.
He's not doing anything.
Hanging out with Dan Cortez. Alex, what do you think?
Wow.
Yeah, I know the 76ers weren't quite the same team, but the average of these teams' 2 prior matchups was 204 from a game total standpoint, just significantly lower than the over-under. I mean, the 76ers, you're right, they've been dropping huge point totals lately over the past 7 games, but it's against some subpar teams. We're talking about the Suns, the Mavs, the Wizards twice, the Hawks, the Knicks, and the Timberwolves. And the Pacers, they play at the 7th slowest pace in the league. They have the 2nd best defense in the league. I am going to take the under here.
Okay, 225. Gary, your turn.
My brain tells me to take the under, but at the same time, I was kind of having a bit of trouble with this one. And sort of to Karin's point, at this point in the NBA, if I'm kind of 50-50, I'm just going to take the over. 10 of the last 11 Pacers games have gone over the number. I know the Pacers are a slow-paced team, but the 76ers might make them play at their pace, and they are the fastest-paced team in the Eastern Conference across their last 10 games. So, yeah, give me the over here.
I just heard the word pace so many times in
Yeah.
like 15 seconds.
Well, what I was paying attention to was I think Little Bow Wow played in those games as well.
He
but
would
no
have had
one
to
cares.
be a little child when that was happening.
Yeah. The Lakers are
Little
still
Bow
without their
Wow.
star, but not without controversy that may or may not have anything to do with this line at all. But they get the Thunder tonight and are projected at 227. Over or under here, Gary?
Hey, Kaufman, these are the two fastest-paced teams in the NBA across the last 10 games. Yeah, I'm going to take the over here. That's a big reason why. It's important. And I also think that for as good as the Thunder's defense has been for the entirety of the season, they're actually almost allowing 120 points per 100 possessions across their last 5 games. They've not been great on that side of the ball recently. So, again, this is kind of a tighter line than maybe the first two, but I'm going to take the over here.
Sometimes I'm grateful there's a border separating the two of us.
Karan, what do you think?
We have a team that kind of plays defense in the NBA and the Thunder, and a team that is completely lost without LeBron James that just lost to the Chicago Bulls. I'm going under.
Alex?
I'm going to take the over here. These teams played the day after New Year's. They only scored a combined 207, but I have a feeling that maybe LA nightlife was a factor there. It was in LA. Both teams shot under 42%. So I think in Oklahoma City, I am comfortable taking the over.
You're going to tell me guys
if you
go
live
out
in
around
Oklahoma,
games.
you're always getting caught up in LA nightlife.
You have to. All right, guys. Finally, one more. Suns Raptors. Again, no Kawhi Leonard. Kyle Lowry is expected to play. So, Karan, is this one going to go over or under 222?
I'm saying under just because there are too many injuries to the great bucket getters, so there's not going to be buckets going to get bucketed tonight. And is that Booker is a little stiff with the back, Kawhi's out, Lowry's just coming back, so I'm going to go under because of the injuries.
Not going to be many buckets getting bucketed tonight.
Yeah,
I'm going to use that at some point. Garion.
I was very ready to take the under here, like a hard under, and my big stat was the Raptors are 12 points per 100 possessions worse with Kyle Lowry off the floor, but now he's been announced as the starter, and they've got a fantastic assist rate when it's Lowry and not Leonard. Suns are bad. I guess I'm going to take the over here.
Alex, wrap us up.
Sticking with the under. I really have no feel for this game at all. The injury situations got me all confused. Kelly Oubre suddenly good at basketball. It's wild. I think maybe this game could end up just being very methodical. Like with all the injuries, the coaches maybe try to get the game plan through. There's not as many as we said before, buckets getting bucketed.
There we go.
So I'm going to run with the under on this one.
Hey, Kelly Oubre's in the NBA. Everybody in the NBA is good at basketball.
That's true. That's true.
And we are all drunk. Always a pleasure talking hoops with you three. We'll be getting your showdown picks later on, so don't go anywhere. Just stand by, hang out, and maybe have a drink. We're going to get our NFL panel joining us next. First, let's hear from Pat Mayo, PME Studios, talking about that NFC Championship game.
NFC Championship game, the Rams, the Saints. Tim, I believe you had predicted this would be the NFC Championship game, so congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Congratulations are well earned.
So what do we do? -3.5 is the over-under of this game. 57 is the total. I actually like the Rams and the points. New Orleans, they didn't look great last week, and I think that the Rams probably learned a lot the first time around, getting waxed, and it was just a couple of big plays middle of the game. I think it was that Michael Thomas touchdown that really swung everything for them. They couldn't get Gurley going, and now they have the immortal C.J. Anderson to run the ball for them. Then I just think it's a close game. I think it comes down to a 3-point game, and if I get the hook, I'll take the hook. So I am taking the Rams to cover the number in New Orleans. Jeff.
I hate that it seems like some sharps got on it quickly.
For which side?
Because that went from 3 to 3.5, okay. I think. I'm going to take the Saints. It's such a tough call. I think Sean Payton's going to have something. This is going to be, you got to be on your toes, like onside kicks, because this game feels silly.
Well, the big thing, I actually went back and rewatched the first game. McVay did not coach well in that game. He seemed to have no clue what to do in terms of offensive.
They hasn't coached well in weeks.
But that was also when the Saints were on their
They were
superheater.
Sure,
when that game happened.
Yeah, the Rams were on their superheater, and the Saints were like, because remember the Saints had lost week 1 to the Bucs at home, then they just got past the Browns week 2,
yeah.
and then they just kept winning. I was like, oh, this is where it stops.
And then they started winning by like 30.
But McVay just didn't know what to do once they got down in that game. Like, he had no clue what to call anymore. Like, they're such a front-running team that if they do get behind by a bunch, it just curtains for them. And that's why I think that they're going to try to keep it relatively close. I know, of course, they're going to try to keep it close, but I think this game will end up being pretty close.
3.5's a big number because leaves the back door open, leaves a lot of things. She's going to side with Peyton here, the veteran play caller.
Okay, so the coin is with you. The coin likes New Orleans. Tim, I'm guessing you're taking the Rams.
Yeah, let's do a little accounting of how the New Orleans Saints have looked like the last couple of months. They have not played an impressive game since back when they blew out the Philadelphia Eagles. So if a team can peak, the Saints did it, and they're on the slide. Now, the Rams are not playing great football either by any means. I mean, I think they did what they needed to do against Dallas. I think they intelligently schemed a game plan where we're not going to try to beat them through the air. We're going to try to ground it out. We think we have advantages, and they took it. I just don't think this Saints team engenders any confidence. Home field didn't seem to really matter whatsoever for them last Sunday because they really should have gotten beaten by the Eagles. I think the Rams, fast team, indoors. It's not a travel issue. I don't know. I think the Rams have more talent on their team, and so if you're going to give me the hook, I'm going to take it, and I'll probably take them on the money line too.
Good stuff, as always, from Mail. We got a couple more of Mail's favorites. No, not us here.
Well, we like them.
Actually, yeah. DK Live's Pierce Dietrich and Jeff Ulrich playing a little playoff chase or fade.
Hey, guys. Good to see you. All right, we're going to get you started with a team and players so close to my heart I may get a tattoo if they win. Yeah, we're talking about the Patriots Invitational, guys, otherwise known as the AFC Championship game. That is Sunday, and we know that the Pats offense, much to my despair, has struggled on the road this year. The team on the whole, 3-5. DK Sportsbook has set the team total to 26.5 points. So for this weekend in Arrowhead, what do you say? Chase or fade? New England's road woes continue if it goes under that mark, Jeff.
Oh, I chase this. And by the way, I'm like 250 into like 13 in my career versus Pierce in these. So no contest here. But look, I'm going to throw some hashtag facts at you guys.
Whoa.
There's really not much difference between the Patriots and the Colts. The Colts were the 5th ranked offense. The Patriots are the 4th. The Colts, the Patriots are far worse on the road. They average 27 points, just like the Colts per game. Only 21 points on the road. I don't know why anything is going to be different in this game than we saw last week. The Chiefs were healthier on defense. They played really well. They stopped the run. This is a smash under for me. I mean, 26 points for an implied team total. I think it's crazy personally. I'm going way under for this.
What about you, Principal Pierce?
Yeah, I'm going to fade this. Let's get to the real split stats, and that's how do the Patriots play during full moons? Don't worry, I looked it up. December 3rd, 2017, they beat the Bills 23-3. Now, if you want to trust other variables like road stats and Jeff's favorite weather, I'm not going to try to talk you out of it, but you can look at other stats like, I don't know, how many points do the Chiefs allow a game? The 10th most in football. That's kind of an important number. Probably more important than the weather or how cold it's going to be. It's the Patriots in the playoffs. They're going to score 26 points.
Scorching hot take from Pierce. I tell you, we missed him. He wasn't around for a little while.
I don't even know if we can follow up on
that.
Had
a baby, became principal of a school.
That's fantastic.
He's back with a vengeance.
I'm truly rattled here. Next up, Pierce. Both of the conference championship games have the same over-under 56.5. Chase or fade, the Rams-Saints game ends up with the higher point total when the game is over. So what do you think there, Pierce?
I'm fading this. I think this game goes under, and it's nowhere near what we see in the AFC game. Jeff thinks the AFC game is going to be a cold game with no one scoring. I think it's going to be a shootout. Cold weather shouldn't matter for either of those games. But you look at this dome game, these teams are going to be conservative. They're patient quarterbacks. They're smart. They're going to lean on really strong running games. They're going to lean on strong defenses. They don't take chances. If you watch Drew Brees last week, very conservative. He stopped forcing the ball downfield. Goff probably won't do that as well. I think this game was way under.
Jeff, do you agree with that? The Rams-New Orleans is the higher scoring game.
Gonna have to get the name of the school from Pierce after, make sure my kids don't go there. But a simple question for Pierce: How many points did the Rams score last week?
22, 29.
30. God,
Don't you know, Jeff? Anyway, of all the numbers that matter, the number of points that you score in a game isn't one of them.
Last week.
The point is, Dallas. Everyone was fixated on Dallas's defense and how good Dallas's defense was, and you can't score against Dallas's defense because their corners are so good. The Rams are good at putting their offense out there against the weakness of their opponents. They exploit it. They change. They're chameleons. They're going to do the same thing against the Saints this weekend, and it's going to force the Saints into a faster pace. This is a dome game. These two teams went for like 70 points the first time they met. It's going to be a higher scoring game for sure. I definitely choose the Saints-Rams going for the over. And by the way, I didn't say that the Chiefs-Patriots game is going to be low scoring. I just said it's going to be a blowout from the Chiefs. So.
Wow. That's
correction.
That's a poor take. But these are two of my favorite, most explosive people. So let's talk about one of the most explosive players that we've seen. Jeff, your bestie, Tyreek Hill, plus 400 to have the most receiving yards out of anybody playing on Sunday. We're talking both games. So chase or fade? Hill's going to have the most yards this week. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you look at this one, and obviously it's Tyreek Hill. He's probably going to have to get the big play to really get up there past 100 yards, 120 yards to win this. I mean, to be the highest receiving total of the week. But, you look at plus 400, it's not a bad number because look at the other players on the slate. The Patriots probably aren't going to have a receiver over that. They spread the ball. They don't really have an explosive big play guy. I mean, Edelman might get there from sheer volume, but that's not really a given at all. And then you look at the other side, Michael Thomas going up against Aqib Talib. It's not the matchup it was last week. So you're kind of down to maybe one of the Rams receivers has a big game, but they spread the ball so much that I don't mind this number for Tyreek Hill, and I'm not necessarily afraid of the weather, although it is, it might be a factor. It's warmed up, but I think this number for Tyreek Hill isn't bad, so I'll chase this if we're still doing that game. I can't remember, but chasing Tyreek Hill.
Pierce, how about you? Chase or fade? Because, yes, we're still playing that game.
I'm going to fade this, and how can you say the Rams are going to put up this big number if you don't believe in Cooks or Woods? One of those guys is going to have to put up big yards and big numbers if they're going to score, unless you think it's going to be C.J. Anderson and all Todd Gurley. But they're going to have to give one of those receivers a big game. He's going to compete with Tyreek Hill. But the real reason I don't like Tyreek Hill is you're going to see a steady dose of Stephen Gilmore. And like Steve mentioned yesterday on the show, PFF ranks him the best cornerback in football. He stayed on Keenan Allen the entire time last week. He'll do the same thing to Tyreek Hill. He shut Keenan Allen down. He might have one big play, and he might have a good fantasy day, but it will take more than one big play to score or have the most yards in this matchup.
Don't let Bukes know he came
just
up on a show
Keenan Allen to Tyreek Hill, Pierce.
Yeah.
Oh. He's the best player on the team, though. This is the point.
Good to have you guys back. Look,
really worked last time they met, too. Really shut Tyreek Hill down well, not last
They
week.
didn't have
Get
him
the
on the
camera
whole
off
time.
us. I'm sure now they stop.
Okay, moving on. Let's go to C.J. Anderson, which we talked about. His backup, Todd Gurley. Obviously, that's a bad joke. Todd Gurley is the number one guy here. He's plus 275 to have the most rushing yards of all players in the conference championship round. So chase or fade, Gurley will have the most rushing yards of the day. Pierce, what do you think?
I'm fading this, and I do agree with Jeff to a point. I don't know if the Rams are going to score a lot of points, but I think they're going to move the ball. They're going to move the ball through the air. Saints, 22nd pass DVOA, 22nd against the deep ball. And then you look at the Rams, and you've got Cooks and with 18 20-plus yard receptions, Woods with 12 20-plus yard receptions. I think they're going to go through the air. Even if they don't completely go through the air, you still have to worry about C.J. Anderson. You could maybe sell me on Todd Gurley getting the most total yards, but not the most rushing yards.
Jeff, do you like one of the Williams guys to go over this number? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, Pierce avoided the golden sombrero here. He's now 0-3-1 for a tie because I'm going to agree with him here. I just think this number is just, it's not big enough to take a shot with Todd Gurley. I do think Todd Gurley may see more usage here, but I agree. It might come through the air. The Saints allowed the fewest rushing yards in the league this year. I mean, they just have a really solid run defense. And like I said, I think the Rams are going to attack them at other places, mainly through the air, through the slot, maybe with Todd Gurley as a receiver. But, you have to beat out the other two Saints running backs, Damian Williams or Sony Michel. Even if you don't agree with me and you think the Patriots are going to romp, Sony Michel could have a massive game. So it's just too much to fade here for me to take Todd Gurley at just plus 275. I need a bigger number. I'll fade this.
That Chiefs run D does blow. All right, guys. Odds makers are setting the total for Drew Brees touchdown passes at 2.5, plus 120 if he goes over. So chase or fade. Brees throws at least 3 TDs. Jeff, right back to you.
Yeah, I mean, again, the number is just not big enough. I mean, look, I think it's going to be a shootout. I think there's a possibility it goes over. Obviously, he's Drew Brees in the Superdome, but at the same time, you look at the way this offense has been run. And I mean, I've probably mentioned this 5 or 6 times in the last month. I mean, they run the ball more when both of those running backs are healthy. And then they also have brought in Taysom Hill this year. He's a part of the offense, actually a big part of the offense. They bring him in the red zone. They just don't throw as much as they used to. They don't have Jimmy Graham there. It's just the Drew Brees touchdown props are just overpriced in my opinion. And at plus 120, it's just not big enough to take a shot. If it was like plus 300, plus 250, yeah, maybe. But this number isn't big enough for me.
Here's Chase or fade, and please find a way to incorporate stem cells.
Okay, well, I don't know if I can do that, but I'm going to fade. And I told people all last week, don't play the Saints. They're going to be rusty. And these guys mocked me all week. What happened, Jeff? They were rusty. Now, they're not going to be rusty this week, but Jeff's right. They like to run the ball. They're going to be conservative. They have a good running game. They have a good defense. They have a good special teams. They're at home in the playoffs. Don't throw the ball around. They tried a little bit to throw the ball deep downfield to Michael Thomas, and it didn't work. So then they started running 10-yard routes to Michael Thomas, check down passes the entire game, short passes. That's what they'll do again. And you've got the backup quarterback who could poach a touchdown. The number reflects an old Drew Brees, not the guy that we have now.
Guy who might need stem cell injections just to
he's
get
getting
to,
up there in age.
Get to the next
He's
level. Hey,
thing.
Pierce, before we let you guys go, just so we can go full circle on this thing and totally picture it for ourselves as we've gotten to know you here on the program, what grade levels are in this school that you're the principal of now?
Hey, I'm not going to talk about that on here.
I didn't ask for the name of the school. I just want the age of the kids. I want to know what we're looking at.
Thank you both.
Do you do morning announcements?
Security numbers while you're at it?
We'll talk to you guys both later. We're talking NBA coming up, but first, probably one of the more interesting summers, well, for free agencies, but trades as well in the NFL. The potential trade getting the most attention is obviously Antonio Brown and what his value is. So check it out.
Hey, I'm Tara Azak here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. I thought I was done talking about the Antonio Brown saga, but the former All-Pro decided to take his thoughts to where everyone likes to say what they're thinking, Twitter. Bruce Arians, the newly hired Buccaneers coach, said he wouldn't really be interested in trading for Brown because AB isn't the same receiver he was back in 2010, saying he is too much diva. Ouch. Brown decided to fire back at Arians and former Steelers receiver Emmanuel Sanders, who is now with the Broncos, saying he skipped rehab to appear on the NFL Network. It's been a long season for the star wide receiver. Brown didn't play in the Steelers season finale when they needed him most, and there were rumors of a beef with Big Ben, and complaints about his role will possibly lead Pittsburgh to trade him this offseason. Add all of that to his recent Twitter outburst, and his trade value can't be improving. Pitt will have to replace Brown's production this offseason, so they could look to the draft and potentially take a wide receiver in the first round. We'll just have to wait and see if after 9 seasons, AB ends up somewhere other than Pittsburgh.
Well, we got one more go-around with our NBA panel. DK Live's Gary and Thorne, RotoWire's Alex Barutha, and from the New York Daily News Reid, Karin Phillips. We got Paul George showdown slate tonight with the Lakers and OKC. We're going to need your best options for tonight's contest, guys.
That's right, and we'll start with Russell Westbrook, who's going to cost you $20,400 if you want to make him your captain tonight. It's a lot of money. That's 41% if you want to do the math of your available $50K salary. If you decide to do that, will it be worth it? If not, who would you captain instead? Garion.
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's 66% if you want to captain Westbrook and then put Paul George in the same lineup. And I've tried to find ways to not do it, and I still keep coming back to it. I mean, Westbrook's just been so phenomenal lately. If James Harden didn't exist, we'd be talking a little bit more about Russell Westbrook. I mean, this is a guy who not only leads the league in potential assists per game by over 4 assists, but he also leads all non-front court players in rebounding opportunities. He leads the NBA in steal percentage. He played in an up-tempo matchup in his last contest against the Hawks, and that wasn't even really their best game, and he still put up 66.5 DKFP. So I just keep coming back to Russell Westbrook regardless of the price.
This dude might average a triple-double in 3 straight seasons.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's comedy.
Karin, I know you like the saves here, so you're not using Westbrook in your captain spot tonight, are you?
Oh, no, look, listen. The numbers say take Westbrook, right? And I'm all for it. But $20,000? Come on, like, really?
No, sir.
I'm not paying that much for anybody, except Jesus. So Russell Westbrook is coming back and turning water to wine, and is the reason the whole NBA is drunk. I'm not doing it.
How much is Jesus on the
No,
slate?
that is hard-hitting analysis. Alex, what do you think?
It doesn't matter. My salvation is worth it.
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I think we can go Westbrook at captain. I tried to mess around with some lineups on the RotoWire optimizer. I couldn't find a lineup that I liked without Russell Westbrook at captain. And even one of the lineups I put together with Lonzo Ball at captain still had Russell Westbrook in it. So I'm not really sure what that means. I think your best chance really is having Westbrook as captain and trying to go cheap elsewhere.
All right, well, the Lakers' top 3 stars, guys, all within $600 tonight. So between Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, who do you think is the best play tonight? Karn, back to you. Jesus, not an option here.
I'm going Kyle Kuzma here, even though I don't like the choices here at all. It's just like a process elimination. I'm just going to go with the guy who I think can score the most or who has the highest potential out of these 3 on a given night, and that's Kyle Kuzma.
Alex, how do you feel about these 3 options?
I agree. I think Kuzma is the safest option. He's always gunning for 20 shots a game, if not more. I think if you want to pivot to maybe Lonzo Ball, just because if you're looking for a lower ownership play, he's so volatile as a player, but he still has 40 to 50 DraftKings point upside. But overall, I think Kuzma's the safest.
Garion, unanimous?
No, I mean, I'll agree Kuzma's probably the safest, but I'm really going to lean towards Lonzo here. I think he's pretty safe too. And I mean, even with Kuzma, we've seen this with Ingram too. Since LeBron's been out, they've had some 40-plus DKFP games, but they've also had some pretty underwhelming showings. Like, this is another reason why Westbrook kind of needs to be your captain, because these 2 teams are just built with nothingness right now. And I think Lonzo, at the very least, the secondary numbers are pretty set in stone. He's got the highest assist rate on the team, up around 30%. When LeBron's not playing, when Rondo's not playing. He's also got 5 straight games with 2 steals, and he's just coming off a career-high 17 field goal attempts against Chicago. So maybe if he's actually going to be hunting down his shot, he's in for a big game.
Yeah, moving to that other team there, Jeremy Grant's been an unsung hero for OKC lately, shooting over 50% from the field and producing at least 27 DK points over the last 3 games. Alex, is he underpriced at $7,200?
Is this a hot take? I think he's way overpriced, actually. Nerlens Noel has been out the past 3 games, so Grant has been taking that usage. With Noel back, I could see Grant just kind of slipping back into his usual role. So discounting these 3 games where Noel has been out, Grant averaged just 24 DraftKings points in the previous 4 home games, which is about 3.3 times value on his price. So honestly, I'm staying away from Grant in this one.
Darren, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I think Noel is a big factor here. I mean, Grant's not going to play 40 minutes tonight. I just don't see that happening with Noel back in the fold. And he's a guy who needs a ton of time on the court to accumulate stats because, again, you've got these 2 massive usage players playing with most of his minutes on the court. Like, there's no other guy aside from Dennis Schroeder on this team who's got a usage rate above 17% who isn't named Russell Westbrook or Paul George. It's just hard to trust these secondary, tertiary pieces on the Thunder, especially when they're priced this highly.
Karn, you like Grant?
I mean, I don't believe that he's necessarily underpriced. I think he's priced in the right area. You could go a little higher, you could go a little lower. But I'm with everyone else. I'm staying away from him if I can.
All right, guys, we're running out of time, but we'll mix in another question or 2. Karn, where can people find some good value, cheap player in this matchup? What do you think?
I'm going with the eyeball, and I'm going with Michael Beasley.
Alex?
Nerlens Noel at $2,600. He can go for 20 DraftKings points.
It's basically what his contract looks like compared to what he turned down in Dallas. Garion?
I'm going to say Tyson Chandler. The up-tempo scares me a little bit, but when he's given 20 minutes on the court, he's gotten 10-plus rebounds for the last 5 games. And at his price point, that's really all he needs to do.
All right, Garion, slate-approved pick. We need 2, so 1 from this showdown and then the entire slate. Just those names. What do you think?
I'm going to take Russell Westbrook as my slate-approved pick on the showdown slate. And then I don't even know. Russell Westbrook. Just do Russell Westbrook both things.
Karn.
I'm going with Paul George because Russell Westbrook ain't Jesus, and I'm going with Joker for the entire slate.
Alex.
I like Westbrook for the matchup. For the whole slate, I like Bobby Portis at 4,600. Wendell Carter's out. Bobby Portis, 45.3 DraftKings points per 36 minutes with Carter out of the lineup.
Beautiful.
Don't punch nobody,
Right,
Bobby.
was hard at work, man. All right, guys, thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us throughout this show. You can go back, rewatch. It's going to do it for us, though, so make sure you download the DK Live app wherever you can find all your up-to-date information, scores, everything you need to make your DFS dreams come true. And as always, find us 6 p.m. Eastern on The Sweat. See you tomorrow.